I want to begin by saying to you that it is a painful memory to me that about 4 years ago, at a stone's throw away from here, a despicable political serial hypocrite stood up and pledged to you, the people of this country, that were you to take him into your confidence, he would neither lie, nor cheat, nor steal. And on all of the available evidence, it is clear that he was very discriminating about the promises he made, but it is not equally clear that he discriminated about the promises that he broke. What is clear is that this country was duped. It is also clear that we now understand what he meant when he said to you that he would kill the fatted calf. I am obviously a fool because I thought it meant that he was going to kill and eat a calf. I did not expect that the rascality would extend to the point where he devoured the whole blasted herd. But tonight I say to you that this Barbados Labour Party stands at your disposal. And I share the view expressed by Mayor Motley and Dale Marshall. At the soonest opportunity, whenever it is coming, give us the chance to make wrong things right. Give us the chance to make sure that this can never again transpire in our land. I beg of you. But I say to you as well, that this sordid mess goes beyond David Thompson. And we need to understand that it finds its origin, its genesis in the belly of a nasty, uncouth intimacy that takes place and took place between the Democratic Labour Party on one hand and CLICO on the other. It is a despicable relationship. It is a relationship that quite frankly was captured remarkably well by the auditors in their forensic audit report. And they said at page 13 of their report, and I'm gonna pray with your indulgence and just read it to you, that CLICO International Life funded approximately $2.1 million related to Leroy Paris's annual bonuses between 2003 and 2008. $2.1 million in 5 years in bonus alone. Most of you within earshot of my voice will never see that money in your life. They say we reviewed Mr. Paris's employment contract, which indicated his entitlement to receive an annual bonus of $300,000 per year between 2003 and 2007. That bonus increased to $600,000 per year in 2008, and I suspect it did so to coincide with the Democratic Labour Party coming into office. We also reviewed supporting documents for payments such as copies of checks and histories from the accounting system. These payments of the bonuses were paid by CLICO International Life on behalf of CLICO Holdings Barbados Limited to different associates and related companies of Mr. Paris. They were paid to David Thompson. They were paid to Thompson and Associates. And of interest, they were also paid to the Antigua Commercial Bank. So you know now up front that money has already started or had already started to leave Barbados and go elsewhere, and I can come back to that later. Now, this matter of the bonuses, colleagues and friends, needs to be discussed. The first thing that Sonny Pookie Paris has to say tonight, that's his nickname. That was his nickname. Sonny Pookie. And Sonny Pookie has to clear the air. He was employed by CLICO Holdings Barbados Limited. So why then is his bonus being paid by CLICO International Life Insurance? And there's a funny thing that you all have to understand about bonuses. I have the privilege of representing a few companies across this island. And there's a very standard process. It is usually a very transparent process as well. And if you are being paid a bonus, it is going through the payroll of the firm, the company that employs you, so that it is clear for all to see in this financial year you were paid a bonus and you received the money and it is liable to tax. And if you did not receive it, the legal doctrine, nemo dat non quod habet, you cannot pay that which you didn't have, you ain't paying the tax because you ain't get it. It went through the accounting system, they see it there, you will pay. Mr. Paris has to explain whether this arrangement, including the tax concept, was tax being paid on this Sonny Pookie Paris. And we also have to understand what happened with respect to this business about passing bonus money from CLICO International Life on behalf of a man who I presume is a whole man to another man. No, I'm very serious about this, but I also do a little piece of family law. And I confess to you that I have seen situations where a man will come and say he can home the money to the madam. But that is usually in return for certain types of consideration. Certain matrimonial comforts will pass. And Sonny Pookie, you can't tell me that you were married to David Thompson. I know that not to be true. So what you have said publicly, and he, when he was alive, pleaded publicly about a special friendship. But they tell me how far you were prepared to bend over backwards, or forwards, or sideways to accommodate the full length and extent of David Thompson's friendship, Sonny Pookie. But let us get real, ladies and gentlemen. This rep, y'all come to export. This is not a sport-making matter. I am deadly serious about the fact that this must not happen again in Barbados. And I have come here tonight to give you chapter and verse of all that transpired. You have to understand, first of all, the nature of the incestuous relationship between the Democratic Labour Party and the CLICO. It is that incestuous relationship Dale Marshall told you about that allowed 13 estates to be sold in this bought in this country and not a cent of property transfer tax passed. That is millions of dollars. You have to understand the incestuous relationship that allowed young Chris Sinclair to go into the last election driving a Suzuki Vitara and to emerge driving a Jaguar that had been owned by Leroy Paris. You have to understand the incestuous relationship that would allow your Prime Minister, Frenda Stewart, to so disrespect you in your House of Assembly that when Mayor Motley brought a no confidence motion, Frenda Stewart got up and said, Don't mind a no confidence motion and claims about mismanagement against my friend and my former client, Leroy Paris. That should be punished with laughter. 40,000 souls in this country tonight are on the brink of financial ruin. Over 100,000 living, breathing people in the Eastern Caribbean are penniless tonight, friend of short. And he tells you that that should be punished with laughter. That is snobbery of the highest order. It is contempt for human suffering that is unprecedented in this country. And it is born out of an incestuous relationship between the Democratic Labour Party and CLICO. It has to be expunged. It is like a cancer. And the things that you need to know tonight. You need to hear, you can hear, get your thing, you can hear. You need to hear that Mayor told you about the money that was received in the first 6 months. Mr. Leroy Paris has helped us to put together the paper trail. I hold in my hand a copy of a writ that Mr. Leroy Paris filed in court on the 2nd of March 2011. He signed the writ, which he's supposed to do to indicate that what he's saying is true. And this is interesting about signatures because you know people who are illiterate sign with an X. That's unfamiliarity with the alphabet. You make a spot, you make a mark. People who are semi-literate but don't have a full command and can't write a whole name will tend to distance themselves from an X and use a letter. Mr. Leroy Paris signs with an A. So Leroy C. Paris signs with an A. I cast no aspersions on the gentleman. You can infer what you will. But the writ that Mr. Paris signed is of significance because in addition to the $4 million that Mayor Motley told you about in 2009, Leroy Paris pleads as follows: that the defendant CLICO has paid to Leroy Paris, the claimant, the sum of $453,876.68. Now again I pause to say something to you. You have heard about 3.33 million. It is untrue. That was paid by one company alone. But the writ that Leroy Paris filed in court and signed to as being truthful indicates that Leroy Paris was paid the following sums: an additional $30,000 from CLICO Holdings Barbados Limited on the 31st of August 2010. Not satisfied, he got $30,000 again from CLICO Holdings Barbados Limited on the 20th of September 2010. Still not satisfied because he's a very greedy man. 22nd of October 2010, he got $30,000 again. Still not satisfied, after David Thompson had died on the 24th of November 2010, he draw another $30,000. While investors like you, the people of Barbados, were being told that you have to hold on. Well, not one but two finance ministers of this country have been saying to you, do not take out your money out of CLICO. Give it a chance. It is well managed and prudently run in the context of our financial affairs. He, like the captain of the Costa Concordia, was bailing out into a lifeboat, trying to give himself the status of a secured creditor before your courts, so that he would be first in the line. I am saying to you tonight that these are bad things. I am saying as well that we have to go further, because this writ of the 2nd of March 2011 was responded to by CLICO. And you know, the press in this country, I can say something here tonight that comes from my heart. I like a lot of the members of the press on a personal level. I feel that many of them are competent individuals. But I feel that whatever your area of endeavor, you have to come to a point where professionalism asks and demands of you. You put your personal friendships and acquaintances aside and you function as a professional in a context of professionalism. Now, why is it that the Labour Party has to mount a platform to enlighten you about that which is in the courts of Barbados as public documents? Why is it? As they tell you, you can't find it in the advocate, and you most certainly will not find it on your tax-paid-for television station. On the 20th of July 2011, CLICO filed a response to Leroy Paris's writ. And here is what they have pleaded. They say that the defendant admits that the money was paid, but says that the said payments referred to in the statement of claim were made under a mistake of fact and or a mistake of law. That neither Mr. Leroy Paris nor the claimant professional services, because he set up a company called Professional Financial Services. And to the best of my knowledge and belief, that company employed one individual, and that was Leroy Paris. Its purpose was to be chairman of CLICO Holdings and chief executive officer. They say neither Leroy Paris nor Professional Financial Services was entitled to receive the said sum of $3,453,876.68 on account of the gratuity, and they counterclaimed, saying that the claimant was not entitled to receive the said sums, and the defendant therefore claims from the claimant, Mr. Leroy Paris, the full sum of $3,453,876.68 as money had and received wrongfully by the claimant to the use of the defendant. Now, what we gather from that is that an issue in this country tonight are two things. The sum of $3,450,000 is clearly had and received by Leroy Paris. That is beyond doubt. And CLICO is saying they want back their money, and the money has not been paid. At the same time, you have been told by David Thompson and by Franda Stewart and by Chris Sickler that the taxpayers' money is skin in this game, and that the taxpayers' money may be at stake to the tune of over $150 million. Now I hear Dale, and I agree with Dale, that there's a role for the judicial manager to take action. But I also believe that the Attorney General of Barbados is a public trustee, and that the power lies in the Attorney General of Barbados to say to a court that there is no clear and palpable evidence of wrongdoing, and that an issue here is over $100 million of the public purse. And so therefore I am moving the court to seek a preemptive remedy, because it is entirely possible, as has happened in several instances, that money disappears from a jurisdiction. That money is dissipated within the jurisdiction, and that steps should be taken to secure the assets of Mr. Leroy Paris up to the tune of $3,453,000. Wheresoever they are to be found in the world, because there's also evidence coming out of the forensic audit that money has already gone to Antigua. And how I know it stopped there? How I know it went further? How I know it fly out? There's an issue here that requires the state to become more involved in this matter. And I feel that it is unsatisfactory, Mr. Franda Stewart, that either you as Attorney General or this other one that got here, Bradford, Adriel, we name Adrian or Adriel or whoever, Ariel, that that he too has to explain his stupid and stupefying silence in this business. And for Francis Short to come and justify by saying he was his former client is also patent nonsense. I will tell you that in Trinidad and Tobago there was a man called Dole Chady who was a terrible criminal. He cut out people's tongues so they could not give evidence. He cut out a man's testicles, killed him, and put the penis and testicles in the man's mouth, the corpse's mouth, as a symbol for the world to see what would happen if you testify against Dole Chady. He was represented repeatedly by a man who subsequently became the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago. His name was Ramesh Lawrence Maraj. Maraj represented Chady as a client. But when Maraj became the Attorney General, Maraj hanged Dole Chady. If it can work in Trinidad, it can work elsewhere. This foolishness of a man is my friend and a man is my client. There is a professional responsibility, there is a political responsibility at stake, and more importantly, there is a constitutional office of Attorney General in Barbados. And the public purse is being left to ransom. That you should tonight be wondering how this government that got so much debt will find another $150-something million. When we know that there are assets not only held by Leroy Paris, but I'm going to be blatantly blunt with you, that I also feel that there is grounds for us to be also looking in similar fashion at the estate of Mr. David Thompson. And why? Why? Because the auditor's report is telling you that hundreds of thousands of dollars on more than one occasion left CLICO International Life and were paid to David Thompson or to David Thompson's law office. Somebody has to speak in that law office. It has to have had a manager. How come all of a sudden we hear the young lawyers coming out, and I don't blame them, they have to protect themselves. And they were only working there. They weren't signing the check. Who was the law office manager, Mara Thompson? Was it you? Was it Mara Thompson who was the manager of that law office? And Mara Thompson, you are no damn queen. Open your mouth and speak, man. Or be accountable to the people of Barbados, woman, and tell us what is the position with that law office. A check left CLICO, and according to the auditors, was deposited to the payee account, David Thompson and Associates. Yet still, Leroy Paris has said in court, and CLICO agrees, that the money actually went to Leroy Paris as payment for gratuity. Who then signed the check in David Thompson's law office for that money to end up in Leroy Paris' hand? Why is there a conspiracy to shroud this issue and obfuscate it and confuse it? Somebody had to sign the check from Thompson and Associates. That person must be discovered. Mara Thompson, your husband dead, but you are not. I am not finished there, because I also feel that the Attorney General of Barbados has a duty in law. Now that there is evidence of some, I put it no higher than worrisome activity, he has a duty to make sure that we are not told 6 months down the road that the maid was making coffee and the cup accidentally spilled over, and bring it down, look out, it lay up on the checkbook, and the old stubs that was in the checkbook were all obliterated, or she was dusting, and a file that happened coincidentally to be the file on this matter of invoices drop, bring it down here to show into a shredding machine, and she missed and hit it with the duster, and it turned on. So as to prevent that folly from being told to the public of Barbados, Idra Brafitt, I am begging you, man, move the court, ask for a preemptive remedy, asked for what they used to call what they call an antempilla order. And when you have the order, tell the judge that the case you want is Yusuf and Salama, where there's clear evidence of the likelihood that there has been questionable, perhaps even nefarious activity. Protect the documents. Do not allow Mara Thompson or whoever the office manager is to bolt the door against the innocent investor in this country, but allow the investor through the constabulary to come in to secure the files, secure the checkbook, secure the vital documents without which justice will be empty-handed. It ain't that hard. And you also have to make sure that you lift the latch at the banker's door and go inside there too to trace that check, because that check is evidence that must be there for the world to see as to who it is that was guilty of signing back that money to Leroy Paris. Why, from the Shaw and Adriel Braffett, who are in charge in this country, why is the taxpayers' money and the taxpayers' interests and the investors' interests being subordinated to friendships with Sonny Pookie? I'm very serious. And we have heard on and on about these invoices. I want to tell you that the invoices themselves also need to be discussed. Now, since everybody in Thompson Associates in want to talk about the invoices, I feel it's necessary to talk about them a little bit too. And there's a man out here who I must tell you served Barbados well in the capacity of Attorney General. He has been an outstanding Barbadian citizen, now in the twilight of his career. And Mr. Morris King QC, I am begging you to open your mouth and defend your reputation. Do not allow your silence to become a comfort zone for anybody's rascality in your old age, Morris King. David Thompson and Associates has issued an invoice suggesting that you charge $250,000 that they're recovering for you for watching a case. And Morris, I know you bring a lot of experience. I may have a better eyesight than many. But $250,000 for watching a case, Morris, is what they're saying. And you need to tell us whether that is true. Did you receive the money, Morris? Or did somebody use your name and smudge you? Did you receive the money, Morris? And if you received the money, did you receive it around January in 2009? And what is this foolishness, this painted nonsense inside the interim invoice of fees at a corporate registry? Searching a corporate registry in the United States of America and in Canada, and out-of-pocket expenses and fees related to the searches in the corporate registry, and an invoice for $1,046,000 for searching registry. Tell me a little bit about that. Mara Thompson or whoever was managing Thompson and Associates. Because we need to know how it is that when I want to search a registry here in Barbados, I will call my friend Shirley Hart, say, Hardy, man, I want you to bring the corporate registry from you. And Hardy is not going to charge me more than $250. Not $250,000, $250. Huh? I have worked in the Eastern Caribbean, and on Friday evening, the registry closed, they can't get in there Saturday and Sunday, and you beg the registrar. She said, we will facilitate counsel. And they open, and you still got to pay. But for the little inconvenience, they'll charge you $300 EC. How on earth, in a fully electronic atmosphere like Canada and the United States, where there are lawyers sitting at their desks and accessing the corporate registries? I want to hear Thompson and Associates particularize what is the registry that was searched in Canada? What are the registries in the United States of America? And itemize for me, please, every search. And I don't know who in CLICO, other than Leroy Paris, could have approved an invoice of that nature. And the point has been made already tonight that the worrisome thing about it is that Leroy Paris had a vested interest. He had a vested interest. And this is the concern that we have here. The Labour Party says to you tonight that these things need to be properly investigated, not when the trail has gone cold, not when you can't find any of the records, but no, lazy Frondel, no. And then there's the other disgrace where there's a claim that retainers were paid for American counsel and Canadian counsel in an action in respect of Marriott's corporation, and that these people were paid $1,800,000. And it can't be that hard, therefore, in Thompson and Associates. If you were working with big shots in America, it can't be Johnny Crockett because he dead. But if you're working with the big boys in America, somebody in there must say, oh Lord, I get a chance to work with one of the big wigs, man. Never write down any name. Somebody must remember who these people from Canada were, what were the names of the law firms, and why they're not particularized in the invoice. What were the names of the law firms and who was paid what? And when were they paid? Were they paid at all? Did they exist at all? And I'm saying to you, comrades and friends, that we are at a stage in this business of governance where we have to be extremely concerned about the footloose and fancy-free foolishness that was taking place in Barbados. Now, I am not here. I sat down a little low. I am not here to quarrel. I am not here to quarrel with David Thompson. David Thompson is dead and he do what he had to do. In my judgment, he has earned for himself a less than honorable grave. But I feel that with the taxpayers' money at stake in this country, with all of you and me being told that we now have to look for funds in order to offset the foolishness that happened at CLICO, that it is necessary for every stone to be turned over in pursuit of the justice of this matter. I feel so. But I also feel now on a political level that this tells a tale about why the Democratic Labour Party is absolutely unsuited to governance in Barbados. They came to office and they pledged that they were going to be the party creating a new ethos of governance in this country. They pledged right here that they were going to be the party that brought in a new chapter, and they issued a manifesto with that. I almost used the C word that ends with L. I can't do that. With that man, David Thompson, on the front. Huh? A manifesto called Pathways to Progress that should have been entitled A Pathway to Poverty. And this is what they said at page 47. This was the core of their campaign. That the Democratic Labour Party will introduce the following to improve governance in this country. Regular press briefings following meetings of the Cabinet of Barbados. To the best of my recollection, it may have happened once. Once. In 4 years. They went on and said that there will be formal ministerial statements at regular intervals on the progress of ongoing programs and projects. And I need not tell you, because all of you who came from that side know that there's a roundabout at Boarded Hall that been there for 2 years, another fella opened him out to explain yet why that work taking so long. They talk about a revision of rules related to the parliamentary questions. I, Mayor Motley, Cynthia Ford, Ron Eastman, I can tell you about mine in the Senate. I have a parliamentary question there asking the Minister of Commerce, Hensley Bain, when he's going to expand the basket of goods on which value-added tax that is killing you will be removed. And you know that ANC Ben has not answered that question for over a year. This Democratic Labour Party is good for nothing. They talk about making constituency councils accountable to constituents and the country, and each council will hold a half-yearly review consultation meeting. It has never happened. They will mandate DLP representatives to give a state of the constituency report. Never happened. I see the light. They stipulate that for state funding of constituencies, to get your money, you have to have a constituency affairs day. There is not one of them across the 30 constituencies in Barbados. These people are unsuited to be trusted in the matter of governance. They're unsuited to be in office. They have failed from day one. They have entered into a conspiracy of silence, and a cloak has been cast over this entire affair with CLICO, and I am saying that Barbados must be liberated from the shackles that are binding us. I say to you tonight, there is spiritual wickedness in high places in this country. And the soul of this nation, indeed the soul of this region, is crying out for a general election in Barbados so that we may be delivered. And ladies and gentlemen, when it comes, send us back to Parliament in overwhelming numbers. Good night, everybody.